Then after observing, I will give some kind of a poster we brought, whatever I learned or whatever I understood so far. Then we will discuss. Then I will ask you to go upstream of little bit. Okay, chalo, let's. How you can explain why big differences? Number one. Is it possible? Okay, assuming that you bring some river system, can we do this kind of orthometric elevational difference using a fluvial system? Then what could be other probable strong fault? So that means if you dig a trench on the riverbed, you will encounter this boulder, this bedrock. That means this bedrock has come from some level. That's clear. Who has done that? That means there is a fault. Now where to put the fault? Where? Huh?
Surface. Go down. Below the higher.
Okay. Now which section are we looking? I think that is a strike section, then dip section. Okay. Which section you are seeing? That is also important. See, you are seeing this. This is basically.
This is north south. You see this bed, that you will not see.
Okay. See, I told you there is a. Okay. I will only putting here as a Siwalik range. Okay. This is the Siwalik range. I'm not. Don't assuming any anticline now. Okay. Some range is there. Okay. Now there are some streams. Okay. Now if you see very closely, then all this structure when we came from Dehradun, they are all not dipping. Most of the things. So that means they are dipping this direction. Okay, monotonously they are dipping in the northern directions. To also identify where is the southern dipping if you are thinking sub-Himalayan is an anticlinal range. Suppose this is an anticline. Okay, now you are looking at this face, basically the cross section or a dip section of a plane. If you put this is in a strike and dip, this is a strike. So this will be your strike of the range front as well as the attitude of the beds. So now if you go and see, you can put your Brenton and measure the strike and dip, then you will come to know. Now once the strike of the range front is introduced, that means there is a contact basically. There are metamorphic contact, there are geomorphic contact. Okay, now the contact can be put on the base of this range front where it disappears. You can put a fault. Okay, in order to elevate this land mass. Now the question is that how do I see the fault? How do I see the fault? So what is the criteria like a traditional geologist use? Reduction in grain size, mineralization, repetition of strata, omission of the strata. These kind of many things are there. But in a brittle dynamics, cataclasites. Okay, fall brachia, fall gouges. So these are all the criteria you have to look for that. Okay, then another information somebody was talking about the Strat terrace. Somebody was suggesting. Yes. What is a strat terrace?
When river cut its bedrock.
Exactly. So what does it say is that you just assuming that when earthquake comes, this whole land will be uplifted. Then what river will do? River will form a waterfall. Then cascades. Slowly, slowly, river wanted to get its equilibrium. Then it downsize, it downcutting, undercutting. Then it comes down. So when uplift surpasses, then what happens? The lateral beveling, lateral incision takes place. Then that is the product you are getting, the strat terraces. There are two types of terraces. One is the aggradational terraces, another is the degradational terraces. So basically these degradational terraces or a bedrock terraces, that may be a proxy for the tectonic uplift. That is the contribution of the geomorphologist or a tectonic geomorphologist. Because those days only the frozen fault like mylonite, all this kind of signatures, they have been explained in MCT and other crustal zone fault has been mapped under the microscopes. That is a variation in metamorphic break, seliminate and kyanite grade. That's how people have mapped it. But if you see in a brittle conditions, how to date them, when was the last moment it took place, these are all the things. Then people use that strat terrace. Sometimes the strat terraces also be a climatic indicators. Just imagine you are in France or in a glaciated area. The glacier has prograded. Then it can also incise. That means the valley will become U-shaped. So we don't have that kind of scenario. Glacial can also undercut the bedrocks. Okay, so that's the key point, is that you are seeing the uplifted landmass. Now I can say that there is an elevated landmass or uplifted landmass, and above that there is an unconformity between the bedrock and the fluvial stuff. You can say terrace. Terrace is a plain area. If you go on the top of it, we climbed up, you can see flat area. So the meaning is that this was uplifted once upon a time. That is the only things. Now the river can incise this uplifted landmass, provided this river should flow parallel to the range front. That is known as axial drainage, parallel to the range front. But here it is flowing transverse. But if you see the subsequently, here it is mountain front is pushed back all the way, but here it is come out. So there are many things. Sometimes thrust get jumps, all these things that we are not going to talk. So this is the only thing where you are going to see the bedrock has been uplifted, and this is the strat contact. Okay, now once you know the age of the strat contact, where the maximum when it got abandoned, then you can calculate the uplift rate. Now the question is that if it is uplifted like a rigid block, rotation, translation, dilation, this is the deformation we studied in structural geology. So now we have to investigate whether this terrace has folded or they are uplifted as it is. Then these are all the minor detail we do and we investigate. Now coming to the point of active fault. Now where to put the active fault? Now where is the fault? Now we established fault is somewhere here, or maybe a fault zone, maybe a say 500 meter wider zone. You can see all these things. Now what you have to do, just go to little bit upstream and you can see the variation of dip strike, and you can find a beautiful asymmetrical south verging anticline, south verging fold. When you introduce the north dipping fault, the fold has to verge towards south, like this. This is what the fundamentals in structural geology. So you can just have a look, asymmetrical fold. So here the question is that the axial trace of a fold is not lies very close to the ridge of the range. It is on the forefront of the range front. That's why older people, they classified as a fore thrust or a foreland thrust or forelimb thrust, because we have the forelimb and back limb. So when it is disrupted the forelimb, they put it as a forelimb thrust. And the crust of the anticline is somewhere, it lies here only. That you can identify yourself very nicely, and you will find a beautiful asymmetrical south verging anticline. So when you don't see the fault, but you see the fold, you can also establish the vergency directions. Like in multiple folding system, where to close the limb of the fold or hinge of the fold. So we do such kind of geometrical analysis. So you can also do like this. So you are going to have the mostly middle Siwaliks. The upper Siwalik part has been eroded. Okay, now if you see that the terraces is also terminated. Suppose if the terrace is formed due to the climate, then what will happen? These terraces will also follow the bank of the river and it merges with the modern river grade. That is nothing but the climatically induced terraces. Okay, that means here the terrace has been truncated and also you are witnessing there is a bedrock has been uplifted and there are fault gouges, all these things. But only you can give the long-term rate or long-term history of this region. But if you want to really map the fault scarp, then you have to walk along this and you will see that the scarp is about 30 kilometers on the same road, but we may not be able to go. The scarp is nothing but the same thing. If you have a very big machinery, you can dig a trench, you can expose it. That is the how long you can push the unit. Center is going to happen or it's happening in the southeast of it's happening. So we never know. I also just thought that something the drift starts, Himalaya will become like a Eastern Ghats.
We propose maybe sometime somewhere in Narmada also.
Narmada, yeah, Narmada. They wanted to have a rift Narmada. There is a micro-terrain continent. So there are many hypotheses. You have to learn like this because whatever I'm making 2 minutes brief talk, it's an effort of so many years.
Yes, definitely.
That's all.
There
So that's
three, 4 questions.
yes, sir.
What is literal meaning of Rao? You are telling?
Sir, Rao is a river, sir.
Achha,
River, basically.
And second, here it is middle Siwalik you are telling.
Yes, sir.
Upper Siwalik was also there here.
Actually, no, sir. Suppose there are different layers.
So some time back there was Upper Siwalik.
It got eroded, sir.
And it
See,
got eroded.
yes.
And then when and how 3000 years you are telling terrace.
Okay, I tell you.
How it formed? Terrace how formed?
Yeah, that's what. See, that's what you assume there was an earthquake today. Okay? Then this landmass get uplifted for a given magnitude. Another, that means whatever you are seeing,
That will go up.
that will go up. That means whatever the terraces will form, this is only the river bed. You just imagine that was there in this.
So that much
Uplift took place.
uplift is there.
Now the question is that this whole uplift is the product of 5,000 years or it is multiple event. Sir, you have to very be careful. If you allow the river to aggregate, that meaning is that you fill the bank.
Yes.
You can also remove the stuff, reoccupy, redeposit. Then the question of 5,000 with this uplift does not arise. That's a minimum. That's all we can do. Because in geology, in a continental system, it's very, very uncertain. That's why people go to ocean and they infer the climate history. People go to glacier and they infer the climate record. People use the lake history. Understand? See, in a continental system, it is always discontinuity. No uncertainty. Don't say that. Discontinuity. Here it is 7,000, 5,000. I might get 10,000. So same thing. Now collision of the Himalaya. People argue 50 ME. Even some people come up with 25 ME. Paleontological record says 25 ME. So does not mean that the older fossil does not exist. E or we could not able to provide it. So research never dies. फिर आप लोग रोटी कैसे खा सकते हैं? So that's how. So basically.
नहीं, लेकिन अगर टेरेस की एज 3000 years something है,
5,000 हो गया.
5000 or whatever, so the whole thing has uplifted in 5000 years.
That's the one hypothesis, sir. If you believe,
What could be the other hypothesis?
hypothesis is a multiple event. So
Yes.
now,
But within 5000 years.
American proposes a single darpog, darana wala, very
Yes.
dramatic scenario, and Himalaya will have 9 magnitude of earthquake.
Yes.
Then Professor Ashkupta ji will come and Rastogi sir will come. No man, it cannot host 9 magnitude. See, the idea is that we know the problem. Because you attack terrace, whatever you are seeing, we never know. Probably it was eroded and again reoccupied.
But sir, inside, if you trench it, you can get.
We
actual,
cannot
na,
trench
but
this way. This is the fluvial scarp. We have to trench this way.
this way, yeah,
That's
that way.
why the trenching and this steady, they go together. They are complementary.
Yeah, it will give the right answer.
Yes, please, madam.
The first one is, are there more places where you find this kind of
Everywhere you should find.
Yeah?
We are finding. Yeah.
How long is this fault line?
No. Now the question is that there is no fault line like this. Fault is here.
Okay.
Okay. See, I told you. Okay. Now.
Here you can see that so many of different kinds of rocks. Okay, basically you can see the quartz venation. This is very interesting, and I always get fascinated towards this type of structures in a particular type of rock. You can see these are basically, okay, you can see the quartz venations. Okay, and you can see now the quartz venation should be in this parallel. Okay, you can see how it is getting. These are the quartz venations. In this case, that is also quartz venation, huge quartz venation. And another thing, you can see that this particular rock or this particular boulder, it is having quartz venation, but these are devoid of these quartz venations. Okay, so maybe what could be the interpretation in this case? So maybe this might have come from a different source. This might have come from a different source. This has experienced quartz venation, this has not experienced that thing. And you can see we are in a area, this is actually the riverbed, okay, which is dominated by the presence of boulders. You can call it as a boulder riverbed. You can see from that point, okay, from that point to this point, it is basically the river course. And we are now present in the Siwaliks, isn't it, in the foothill of Himalaya. And these rivers are maybe seasonal rivers. That's why right now we are not getting any water here. You can see we are in the middle Siwalik. The upper Siwalik has already been eroded. Presence of lower Siwalik. In that part, we can see some the remnant part of Siwaliks. You can see the lithology contrast. This is white color. This is somehow red, orange type of color. Okay, you can see why these different types of colors are there. Maybe for the presence of 50 terraces, maybe some explanation will be there. Okay, but it is quite interesting. You can see, okay, we are in the foothills of Himalaya. Yes, this is the riverbed. Okay, very small amount of water is coming, draining, you can say. But you can see this is actually a different type of lithology we are encountering here. Maybe the bedrock, and in this case here a gradational change is happening where this red color is getting transformed into this white color. And if you just come closer here, you can see this is also looking like the bedrock, but if you just go and touch, this is fine grained. I can just call it to be a very, you can see this is consolidated sediments, river sediments. Okay, so powdery feel, you can see. Okay, powdery feel they are giving. So maybe this is not the bedrock, but this has already formed from the consolidation of the river sediments. You can see these are the like sand size particles, isn't it? Sand size particle, but you can see that is different lithology. This is also different lithology. This is basically the sand. Okay, white color, that is something different. Maybe some, I don't know, but that is something different. Depending upon the color contrast, we are differentiating these two things. This is actually quite interesting. You can see, okay, you can see the scarps, like some unconsolidated over there. Okay, some unconsolidated materials are falling from there, from the top. Okay, you can see this is actually a very good example here only. Okay, and in this case you can see that these are the boulder beds. Okay, boulders, various types of various size of boulders are there, and you can see that there is one boulder. Okay, there is one layer, boulder layer, and below that the lithology is different, and above that the topmost soil is present. So maybe what could like if you are trying to just demarcate this layer, or you have to name this one, then what you will just define these things to be. Because like conglomerate may be some unconformity, question mark. I'm not telling the thing, but this is like there is a lithology is different, and there is one boulder bed is present in between, then the soil is present. Okay, can we just call it to be an unconformity, question mark. Okay, here you can see these are the animals you can find here. Whether they are ghoda or khachar, I don't know, but they are also having some, they are adding some beauty to this place also. पे आप देख सकते हैं, you can see मछली पकड़ने का एक निंजा टेक्निक being invented by Dr. Ahmed. देखते हैं 2-3 मिनट वेट करने के बाद we can get some 5-6 किलो of मछलीज. So मैं भी देखते हैं ये निंजा टेक्निक कितना काम करता है. He is actually a research scholar in Wadi Institute of Himalayan Geology, and he has helped a lot to me. And you can see there is a PM who is considered to be the Prime Minister, not Prime Minister but Priya Muria, and she is joining